My husband and I had an epic fight last week, one of the worst we've ever had. And that is really saying something because we have been married for almost 17 years and together for 23. This one kind of took the cake. And as I look back, the point is that it was the accumulation of all of the pain points, all of the things that have felt so off and wrong in our relationship for years. It's not something that I have really shared on this channel, and I'm gonna open up and get really vulnerable, but I want you to think about how you can apply the lessons I'm going to share with you in your own relationships. I'm Amber with Solutions for Simplicity, and this channel is the place for busy women who are looking to live a simpler, more purposeful, and productive life. As a full-time working mom of 4 young kids, I have shared all kinds of videos on actionable strategies for balancing it all. And my life is still really crazy. I am constantly a work in progress, but part of living a purposeful life includes having intentional, meaningful, fulfilling relationships. And so whether you are married or not, I want you to take these lessons and think about how you can apply them in your relationships with your friends, a parent, a coworker, a boss, whoever it is. No matter the relationship, there are going to be times where you have conflict, where you disagree. And those are the moments where it is all too easy to get caught up in our emotions and to dig in, feel like we are right and the other person is so wrong. Heaven knows that I really battle with this because, I don't know, no explanation needed, right? I think we all do. And yet again, these strategies that I'm gonna share from the lessons I learned based on the epic fight I had with my husband last week are things that will help you too. Now, without going into too many of the personal details, I can tell you that this fight was something that has come up in different forms time and time again. The stress that my husband and I feel as dual working parents with no family help nearby, and all of the major life events that have just come at us wave after wave in the last 4 years, starting with the pandemic, even before that really, because we had moved away and then had kids and then had this whole just craziness. It's been so much. But especially after the pandemic, we kind of lost our minds, and it was really easy to turn on each other and see the other person as the enemy, right? Doesn't the devil just want that in marriage? He wants to convince us that our spouse is the problem instead of us keeping our marriage as the front and center cornerstone piece of our lives so that we can be there for each other and for our children. But we have been so stressed out, and it really just all came to a head this past spring when my mom passed away and I was gone for several weeks preceding that to try and be by her side. That left my husband as the sole parent caring for our 4 young boys. He did such an amazing job, and I was so grateful. I am so grateful. But then we had a trip to go back for her memorial service at the same time that my end of semester was occurring. It was so busy and stressful. We had kids get sick. We had all the mayhem, as one of my coaching clients referred to it, right? All of the craziness of May with kids' activities, end of school, teacher gifts, planning for summer. Just felt like everything was happening and there was not enough of us to go around. So there certainly wasn't much left for us to pour into each other at the end of the day. But through it all, we had planned to finally have a weekend away where we were going to go and get some time to ourselves, to reconnect, to hash out a plan moving forward, and just kind of figure out where we were after all of the emotion and trauma that we've experienced in the preceding years. We had planned this weekend away. It was originally scheduled in February and we had to cancel it because of my mom. And so we rescheduled it for this past weekend, only for then my husband to come down with the stomach flu. Poor guy. And it wasn't his fault. but we agreed that we needed to cancel the weekend, and that just set me off. I can't tell you how much I had been looking forward to that chance to catch my breath and to be with him alone, to have an uninterrupted conversation, to hear our own thoughts, to sleep through the night, all the things. Yet truly, that was the tip of the iceberg. That was the proverbial straw that broke this camel's back, because in the days before he got sick, I was trying to unpack and get us back on track from our recent trip to Colorado for my mom's funeral. And then he had all kinds of stuff going on. Again, we had kid stuff ad nauseum, and we were just exhausted. We were really under so much stress that we broke and we turned on each other. Now, I am really ashamed to admit this, but I have a very bad tendency of withdrawing when I get upset. Let me know in the comments how you handle your anger. But when I'm hurt or something is wrong, I just back away. I shut down. I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to deal with the issues at hand. I just want to go and sulk and have my moment of throwing my little internal tantrum, etc. But the reason I do that is because I know that I am being unreasonable. I recognize that I am not in a good place, that I'm having all these negative thoughts and they are causing me to feel a certain way, and I want to be able to feel my feelings and really process them, and that just takes me time. So this fight turned into a multi-day event, not because we were confrontational, but because we were avoiding each other, and neither one of us really wanted to take the first step to make it better. And someone really needs to do that, right? Someone, both of you, in fact, need to take responsibility, full responsibility for the relationship. So we finally sat down and talked about what was wrong. And of course, it got heated, but I'm really proud of how we fight. I hope that your relationships are the same way, but thankfully, even though we get very upset, we're not cursing at each other. Yes, sometimes there are raised voices, but it's still relatively respectful. And I guess my biggest problem with the way we fight is that sometimes we interrupt each other and one person can't get their full thoughts out without the other person getting defensive and throwing something in. But for the most part, especially after all these years together and as close as my husband and I are, I really do thank God that we have the ability to fight in the way that we do. I think we fight very productively and very fairly, even though we are really upset. Now, here are the 3 big takeaways. Here is the meat of the video. Here are the main points that I want you to apply in your own relationships, whichever relationship that is. When you are upset, when you are angry, I want you to remember these 3 things that are the lessons my husband and I walked away with after resolving our fight last night. Point number 1 is always to remind yourselves that you are on the same team. In the moments where we get upset and something feels wrong, it is all too easy to point fingers and look at the other person as if they are responsible for how you are feeling and all of the things that feel problematic. But that's so false. The reality is that we each have so much that we are bearing, so much stress, so much emotion that piles up, and it's then all too easy to turn on each other when you don't have a good outlet or time to express it. But no matter what, you are on the same team. You are both likely upset at the same thing. You just don't realize it. So for example, in my situation, I was pointing out to my husband that while we are mad about X, and I'll use the example of not being able to go on our weekend away trip as an example, while I was mad that we had to cancel our plans, the point was I was upset because I just so desperately wanted time with him, and it has been so long since we've gotten that. It feels so impossible for us to have time and energy for each other when we are trying to keep up with work and the house and the kids and all the craziness that life has thrown at us. So he feels the same way, right? But he was mad at how I handled it. And in reality, we are just wanting connection. We want the same outcome, but we are forgetting that we're on the same team, and we therefore need to sit side by side and get really tactical. What are the possible solutions that can help us reconnect, that can help us process the current situation, but then buffer against future similar kinds of things? I would put it to you that fighting and having these intense disagreements is a really positive thing in the sense that it brings to light the fact that you both care so much. You wouldn't be fighting if you didn't feel something at stake. And we sure do, right? Our marriage is worth fighting for. And our sadness about how little we've been able to give to each other is then a very important sign that we need to work to improve moving forward. So the question is then, how can you be on the same team? How can you better weather future storms together? It's unrealistic to think that we are going to solve these problems once and for all and never experience challenges again. We know that we will, but every disagreement, every fight is an opportunity to get data, right? To learn from what happened, to dissect the situation, and then get really just creative about how you can try to do better next time. Point number 2 is probably the most important thing. If you take away nothing else from this video, this was the point that I think really changed my husband's perspective. And I'm not claiming to have won the disagreement. There is no winner. We are on the same team. But I saw his eyes light up and think of things in a whole new way when I explained this to him. So one of the things that he was feeling so defensive about was that I had admitted that I have felt unhappy about a lot of areas of my life. I have gone through so many hard things, and things are just not where I want them to be right now, especially at home, with my kids, in my relationship with my husband, professionally, all of these areas, right? But what he was then assuming was that that meant I wanted something else, or that, I just was feeling unfulfilled. And I underscored to him, this is the main point, there is a huge difference between happiness and joy. All right, let me break this down for you. If you have never heard about it before, hopefully you have, let me know in the comments. But happiness is that momentary, fleeting pleasure reward, or that sense of satisfaction that you feel when things are going well. You do something or you receive something and you get that literal chemical high in your body and you think life is good. That's an awesome feeling and we all want more of it. But it is completely unrealistic to expect to be happy 100% of the time. Joy, in contrast, is that deep security, that peace, knowing that no matter what happens, you are safe, you have a purpose, God loves you, and it's all going to work out better than you can see in this moment. So joy is always possible. We can be joyful no matter what unhappiness we might be experiencing in any given moment. And I really underscored to him that we are allowed to be unhappy. No one should feel pressure to be happy all of the time. I really consider myself a very positive, optimistic person. I actually won the Optimist Club award back in high school and got a scholarship for it for college and so forth. And so I think on average that I am a very happy, positive person. But we all have a range of emotions and feelings, and those feelings are subjective. They are unique to us, and we respond to our external circumstances in ways that are very different than anyone else might. So again, even though my husband and I were going through the same circumstances, we each had different thoughts and feelings and reactions about them, and no one's feelings are right or wrong. I had to really break this down for him, that you're allowed to feel how you feel, and we can't judge each other's feelings in those moments. But me feeling unhappy from time to time, me being frustrated and wishing that so much was different or better, does not detract at all from the fact that I am so overjoyed with the life God has given me. I feel so blessed to be a wife and a mother. This is everything I ever wanted. It is just admittedly a lot harder than I ever expected. Please let me know down below if you can relate. And then bringing this full circle, I think so many of us, especially women, are brought up buying into that storybook situation, thinking that our knight in shining armor is going to rescue us from our unhappiness and we will ride off into the sunset and live happily ever after. I sure watched all the Disney movies as a kid and believed that for a long time. It has taken me years to recognize that it is no one else's responsibility to make me happy but my own, okay? You are responsible for your own feelings, for your own happiness. It's no one else's job to come in and save you or to make you feel better, right? And that should be empowering, because you all by yourself have the ability to change your thoughts no matter your external circumstances. And by changing your thoughts, by reframing how you are perceiving your situation, you can actually change the feelings and therefore the results that you are experiencing in any moment, no matter what is going on. This is what I coach my personal productivity coaching clients on all of the time, and it's so powerful. So then not only is no one else responsible for making you happy, but it is also not your responsibility to make anyone else happy. And one of the main mistakes I think my husband and I made early on in our marriage was assuming, we both did this, right? We assumed that the other person should be making us happy, should be doing what we want and doing things the way that we wanted them to be done. And if they did that, then we would be happy. Now, we are all human. We cannot help but love conditionally, but it's something to work on, because true love is unconditional. And when we each take responsibility for our own feelings, when we stop expecting anyone else to rescue us or make us happy, when we are able to make ourselves happy, but also allow ourselves to feel unhappy and allow our other people, whether that's again your spouse or a parent or a boss or whoever, when you allow those people to be unhappy too, without it meaning anything about you or without feeling the need to jump in and rescue them, a whole new level of life emerges. Now, again, I am not perfect at this. I am still struggling and trying to improve, and this past fight is all the more example of that. But we're making strides. Wrapping up this second point then, we talked at length about having a word or a phrase that we can use when we see the other person is upset. We're gonna ask each other, hey, are you upset at me or because of something I did? Or do you just need some time and space to be unhappy? And how can I help? Is there anything I can do to make the situation better? A lot of times, especially for us women, right? We don't want the problem fixed. We don't need someone like our husbands to come in and solve it. We just want to feel seen and heard. Tell me in the comments if you ever feel that way. The third takeaway is a reminder that each of us has very different love languages. If you have not heard of the 5 love languages before, I will link the amazing book for you down in the description. But the 5 love languages are physical touch, quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation, and gifts. And each of us has different ways that we like to receive love, right? That make us feel loved and appreciated. But the kicker is that we then so naturally tend to express love in the way that we personally like to receive it. And that sets any relationship up for, I'm not gonna say failure, but certainly a challenge, because our love can end up crossing paths without ever feeling received, without hitting its mark and increasing the love and connection that we're both seeking. So case in point, my love language, in case you couldn't tell, given that I like to ramble on and on and on, is words of affirmation. And I'm not seeking praise, although I love that, right? Who doesn't like recognition and a big pat on the back for a job well done? Especially as a type A perfectionist, all the things. Yes, I love to receive some praise and accolades for the effort that I have put into something. But I am more than anything super sensitive to any sort of hint or insinuation of criticism, any implication that I did something wrong, which of course I do, right? We all do things wrong, but it just, if I even sense the chance that my husband is upset at me or upset at something, then I feel like, oh, I should have done it better or differently to avoid this. And he doesn't even realize that that is happening. On the other side of things, his main love language is acts of service and physical touch. So he feels appreciated when I show him how much I love him, how grateful I am for all he has done with, quality time things like giving him a massage or sitting down next to him and watching a show on the couch, of giving him time and space to go off and do something that he enjoys. And all of these past few months where we've been through so much stress, and especially after he was the solo parent for all those weeks that I was gone dealing with my mom, I came back and I told him profusely, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, you have no idea how much this means to me. I would sing his praises in front of him to all the people that we were around. And what's crazy to me, but very valid for him, is that he did not see that as my appreciation. That never registered with him. And so it's come out now, this is the thing that we processed in our fight, he felt like all of his hard work had gone unappreciated and unvalidated because I didn't really show him how thankful I was in ways that he would have interpreted as thanks. Wow, so just really mind-blowing to step back and put those pieces together. So think about your love languages. It can be also applied to your children. We each have different ways that we like to receive and express love, and we need to be mindful, not just of our own love language, but more importantly, the love languages of the people we love, so that we can show our love to them in the ways that they will receive it. Now, as a dual working household, the other thing I will just add on here is that inevitably, every fight we have involves some dimension of that good old division of labor problem. It is so hard to juggle the kids' needs with the house needs and so many things that never felt like issues before we had kids in terms of who was going to do what and all the invisible labor that we each feel needs to be done, right? Those things weren't problems until we added kids into the mix. And that has caused some perpetual tension in our marriage that we are constantly trying to go back and remedy and adapt moving forward. So jump straight into this video for some of my top work-life balance tips. If you got value out of this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Again, comment down below. Let me know what you are taking away. Which of these 3/4 main points resonates with you? Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you back next Tuesday. Have a great day.